What's up, traders, and welcome back to the Forge Trader Podcast. I'm your host, Gates Adams, and I have got a phenomenal episode for you guys today. I'm super excited to share with you guys a great conversation with a good buddy of mine, Stoic Jake. We'll get into all of that here in just a few minutes. Of course, I want to share some updates with you guys. Let's see here. As of right now, the time that I'm recording this, it is May 6th. Currently, 16 successful payouts across 9 accounts. To the tune of a little over, I guess about 18,500 or so over the course of the last little over 6 weeks, maybe 7 weeks. The last payout request went in April 30th, so I've got a few more days to trade before I can request the next payout. But as I continue to grow and develop, look, I continue to make quite a few mistakes. I'm making a lot of the same mistakes that I made early on. And one of the biggest things that I'm trying to do right now is identify each mistake and attack them one at a time. I think it's so easy to get caught up in something like trading has so many different facets to it, whether it be mindset, whether it be strategy and execution, whether it be trade management, money management, risk management. All of these things come into play, and all of these things are important. But when we get caught up with the idea of trying to fix everything at once, it can be absolutely overwhelming. And ultimately, we're going to struggle to get anything accomplished because we're trying to do too many things at once. I equate this maybe to if you're dealing with food allergies or things like that, a lot of times what the doctors will have you do is to do a restrictive diet and then add one thing in at a time. This helps you identify what the real source of the biggest issue is. I'm trying to take this approach in my trading because I know I still have multiple things that I need to work on. But if I try to address multiple things at once and I see some improvement or I see some decrease, I don't know which factor it is that's causing the shift. And for me to continue to grow and develop, I need to know what's having an impact. And the only way that I can do that is to work on and fix one thing at a time. So this last week, I've actually played around with some taking some entries a little bit pre-market when I'm seeing the entry that I generally look for when I see an opportunity come up pre-market. I've toyed with the idea of taking this. I've actually taken a few trades, and I've taken them in my actual accounts. I'm not paper trading this. And I do this very specifically because I know for me, I need the emotion attached with the actual live trade in order for the information to be as impactful as it can be for me. That may not be the solution for everybody, but I do think that this is the solution for me. I know that I internalize things much more deeply in that scenario. I can do so with limited risk and manage that to where I'm not putting myself in harm's way. But what I've come to find out is that that's not a good strategy for what I'm looking for, because a lot of times any gains that I'll get, even if the trade is going my way on that opening candle or first couple of candles after 9:30, they get wiped out. And it'll wick out, take me out of the trade, and then maybe continue doing what I expected it to do in the first place, maybe go the other direction. But what I'm finding is that it's not really fruitful for me to do that. Again, this isn't a blanket guidance for everybody, because I know a lot of people who do take trades pre-market successfully and do wildly well. So for me, it's about identifying what is the best fit for me. That is not the best fit for me. Now, really what I'm working on is developing some consistency in every single entry. I know this seems not almost basic. This seems very basic in nature, and quite frankly, it is. This is one of the things that I've continued to struggle with. I have fought through, having a bad start to the day and then trying to recoup and ended up losing a lot more. In some cases, I've gained more. I know long-term that that's a losing strategy, and that really is more of a psychological boundary for me that I need to set, I need to manage and not take any sort of exception on. And honestly, it's hard. And I know it only comes down to a decision. This is a decision that I have to make, that I'm just not going to do this anymore. And it's as simple as that sounds. It's not psychologically all that simple. And I have been struggling with this. So this is really what I'm trying to work on the next week or two, is focus in on just, look, a bad day is a bad day. We can have a losing day and still continue to grow and develop. So as I continue to see the accounts grow, the payouts grow, which is all well and good, For me, it really boils down to being a high quality, highly skilled trader. I know the funds will come with that, significantly more so than they already have. So I have to get out of the bad habits and worrying about what happens on a single day, and then trying to scale up and take trades that maybe don't fit, but are more of a gut feeling or a discretionary trade. Um, I know with as many bad habits as I still have, as successful as I've managed to be in the last couple of months, that level of success should continue to increase as I hone and clean up some of my actions and sharpen some of my skills. That really is the goal over the course of the next couple of weeks. So I will continue to keep you updated as I continue to experiment and play with and work on and develop some of these things as we go. All of that said, I've got a phenomenal interview for you guys today. My buddy Jake is a phenomenal trader, and really what it boils down to is he has got the right mindset of what it takes to be a successful trader. In fact, he's known online as Stoic Jake. Stoicism is a great concept that fits really well in the world of trading. It may or may not be for everybody, but he's made it work for him, and the proof is in the pudding. He's continued to grow and develop. He even reached out to me a few months ago, and as he finished up the month, he had a 100% win rate for that particular month. This is not obviously any sort of an expected outcome in any way, shape, or form, but it does take a level of precision and discipline to operate at that level for a month with that level of consistency. So hopefully you guys get a lot out of this. This should be a lot of fun, and definitely an interesting guy. Got a lot of great ideas behind this conversation. So stick around and help me welcome today's guest, Jake, Stoic Jake, on today's episode of the Forge Trader Podcast. Welcome aboard to the Forge Trader Podcast with your host, Jake Simmons. What's up, traders, and welcome back to the Forge Trader Podcast, where successful traders aren't born, they are forged. I'm your host, Gates Adams, and I'm here today with my buddy Jake, Stoic Jake, as he's known online. And when it comes to mindset, I talk to a lot of traders, as you guys know, and one of the things that Jake's been on the Trader Bacon Show a couple of times now. He and I have gotten to know each other a little bit over the course of the past, year or so, I guess, since we first started chatting. And when it comes to mindset, I just don't know of a lot of traders that are really more clear in terms of their development and their growth as the mindset of a trader. So when we start talking mindset, Jake's a perfect guy to have a conversation with. Jake, I'm super excited to have you on today, man. I appreciate you taking some time. How's it going?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me on today. I am always appreciative of being on with you on your show. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, it's always a pleasure. There's not a whole lot of people that I've had on the Trader Bacon Show twice, and you are in good company there, and there's a reason. I think about some of the conversations that you and I have had, either in interview or outside of interview. I remember at one point you texted me and again, I'm going to put every disclaimer in the world out there, but you reached out to me, I think, on the first of the month and said, "Hey, man, 100% win rate last month." This is obviously out of the norm, out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
But the reality is that it takes a certain mindset to go 30 days or 31, I guess. Well, I don't know, not trading days, but to go that long and not slip up somewhere. And again, you don't need to slip up to have a losing trade. We all know this. However, the level of consistency is kind of insane, man. So let's paint the picture, I guess, for everybody. First and foremost, how long have you actually been trading?
I have been trading since June 2021, so almost 4 years. So like 3 years in May, so
11
years
months.
into. I'll say 4 years. Let's say 4 years. Round up.
4 years, right? Okay. So what brought you into the world of trading? What were you doing beforehand?
So I was actually in college. It was my senior year of college, and I got introduced to the stock market in 2020 because of COVID and it crashing. And I didn't ever really invest or anything. I just kind of looked at it, was interested in what it had to provide or whatever. And one day I was approached by a MLM for trading, saying that they're going to teach me how to trade.
I remember this now. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Forex.
Mhm.
and I got introduced to that, and I didn't get taught how to trade, I just got taught to recruit. I stopped doing that,
Right.
and, I continued on with my journey in trading because I felt that there is actually a possibility you can make money with this. I don't know how, but I'm going to learn, I'm gonna figure it out. I definitely burned a lot of money along the way of trying to figure out how to trade, but I got introduced to it through wanting to make money. I think that's what a lot of people get introduced to trading with. Like they either sold the dream of money,
Mhm.
unlimited amounts, or freedom, or whatever. But that's how I got introduced. Is I wanted to make money. I saw the money aspect of it that you can, all these flashy numbers, and I decided, hey, let's give it a shot. And here I am, 4 years later.
There you go. Now, especially when we're talking about early COVID days, I talked to a lot of traders who basically, they longed in late 2020, and then they just rode the wave and made it just a shitload of money. And
Yes.
then what, and of course this builds this feeling like, oh man, I'm really good at this, right?
Yes.
And then one day the market no longer just was, long the market, long crypto, whatever the case may be. And they realized that there was not a whole lot of skill that went into that. Certainly some great timing, definitely a lot of luck. But what this did for a lot of traders, and I know that this was a little bit of part of my story, is when you see this massive move in your account in a short period of time.
Oh yeah.
Did you have that like to lean on? Because I think for a lot of people that sort of gives them the confidence that it can be done even if they blow it up later. So did you have that, or did you fight your way up sort of from nothing until you really got profitable?
I didn't ever really have that time of just going up. I started like in 2021 and it
Mhm.
was Forex and it was binary options. So
Okay, were you trading data?
it was so much different.
Yeah.
It was so much different. I never really had that like, oh, just the 2020 market of
Mhm.
going up all the time. I started 2021. It was basically me just fighting my way up, like you
Mhm.
said, learning, not really learning, just basically wasting money gambling, trying to make money, not knowing what I'm doing. And yeah, I went through a lot of pain from it. I would say I probably put majority of my income that I would make for my job at the time into trading. I would just lose it. So I became homeless for a little bit.
Oh, wow.
That's just on my own accord. I didn't pay
Sure.
rent. Of course, that's going to happen. If you're wasting money, not paying bills, being responsible.
Mhm.
Anyways, I pulled myself out of that, but I still had trading like in my life. I just never really approached it from a serious standpoint. I just wanted to make money. I didn't
Mhm.
want to learn how to trade until I had a very big event happening in 2023. I lost like the most money I've ever lost trading. It was May 19th, 2023. But that event taught me like, okay, this isn't actually easy. It's like it's not easy to make money trading. It's
Mhm.
possible, but it's not easy. But to have money consistently in trading, you need to have a strategy. So that big catalyst event of losing all of that money at once and not making any money and just having all these bad experiences buying signals all throughout from June 2021 to May 19th, 2023. Like, all right, I need to do something different. Obviously,
Mhm.
this isn't, working. So from May 19th, 2023 till like September of 2023, I spent some time kind of studying. Like, I need to find a strategy that works for me, like negative RR versus positive RR. What do I like better? And in 2023, in September, I started to stream, and then I got funded with Apex in
Mhm.
2024. In January, I got my first payout in March of 2024. So like from that period of May to June or January, I was just really, really trying to have a strategy, something I was confident in, because that's the only way that you are going to be able to make money in trading is if you have a strategy. But a lot of people just want to make money, and I was one of those people.
Right. Well, so basically, what you just described is 2 years of basically feeding this beast of putting in money, losing it, putting in more
Yeah.
money, losing it. I mean,
Yes.
that 2 years is a long time.
Mhm.
2 years is a long time for anything, right? I mean, I remember when my kid was born. I remember his first, my first kid's second birthday. I mean, 2 years of having a kid seemed like an absolute lifetime. I mean, that's a long time. Is my
It was
point.
a it was a it was grueling, dude. I just was like, "Why am I not making any money?" And I'm seeing all these people online making
What
all this
kept
money.
you in the game?
the like if people on Wall Street and people are trading, stocks or
Mhm.
whatever, if people are doing this professionally for a living or, for traders or whatever, why can I not do it?
Mhm.
Obviously, there is a way to do
Sure.
it. So that kept me in the game. That kept me from like actually leaving, quitting, and giving up forever. But like, I definitely had I think 90% chance of me quitting after me losing all that money on May 19th. But I met this guy in the sauna the next day, and he was like, I would say like probably 20, 30 years older than me.
Mhm.
And he said, I know you heard this before, but you need to find a strategy and dial it in. And I think that like that situation right there in itself allowed me to not quit and actually like find something that worked for me.
That's an interesting point. So this is not necessarily new information,
Right. I
but
mean, I
it
feel
was
like everybody
information
knows
that
that. And
came at the right time. The time that
yes,
you needed to hear it, you needed to receive it, and well, quite frankly, if you were going to continue, you had to be open to that message.
yeah, I mean, I think it was just the experiencing, like, someone in real life because I had
Mhm.
been scammed so many times. I've been,
Yeah,
like, sold signals, bots,
yeah,
strategy, like, all this stuff, like, that didn't work online, and I think just hearing it from someone in real life, I was
sure.
like, "Oh my gosh." Like, okay. So, I mean, I'm not the only trader out here. There's this guy right here next to me. He just
Mhm.
told me to get a plan and dial it in. He's
Right.
older than me, so, I mean, he probably knows a little bit more than I do, so let me just actually apply what I learned this time. And it
Yeah,
took me, from May to September. It didn't just happen overnight. It even took
right.
from May to September. I had to like find out what worked for me, and that takes time. But a lot of people don't want to do that
Yeah.
at first, and then you like figure out, hey, like this, there's no other way to do this except finding something that works for you, a strategy.
For you, look, I mean, at this point, you've gone a couple of years of struggling. Now you're going through the learning process, that learning curve, and we know that that's like I used to say very flippantly, and I have to correct myself that anybody can learn a reasonable strategy in a couple of weeks. It's not that simple. It's also not as complicated as we tend to make it sound because for me to learn a strategy and get 3, 4, 5 months down the road before I start to see profitability, it's not that I didn't learn the strategy. It's just that I didn't execute it the proper way, which is really more what the topic of the podcast tends to be. But for you, when it came to developing your strategy, where did you find your strategy? How did you develop it?
So one day on YouTube, it was in 2022. I had found this in my midst of me, even before the big catalyst event. Like I found this video on YouTube of this robot, is AI robot talking
Mhm.
about ADX and DI,
Okay.
and I didn't use ADX at the time. I think maybe I used it for maybe a month,
Mhm.
but there was these DI plus DI minus crossovers, and that just was like direction.
Right.
And this video explained like, oh, you want to avoid the consolidation, whatever, and then whatever, da 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 da. Anyways,
Yeah.
that didn't work. I went back to it. I found like the indicator that I had, and I
Mhm.
looked up what ADX actually was. I looked up what it actually was. So I went on Investopedia, looked up ADX, and it told me that ADX was a trend strength indicator.
Mhm.
And that just made sense to me because I realized that I want trend on my side. I think throughout the experience of me starting and then like all to the point of me trying to find a strategy, I realized that I would rather trade trend instead of
Mhm.
reversals. And that's just, there's multiple different ways to trade. But ADX told me that trend, it was a trend strength indicator. So I found that at 25, that was the level of the entry of from 25 to I think 50 was the strongest the trend. And then
Mhm.
obviously there's like overly strong trends to 70 and stuff like that on the indicator,
Sure.
but that doesn't really happen that much. I started back testing every time ADX was at 25 or above, long or short. And I found that over a series of 150 trades from NASDAQ and US 30, I found that I had like a 78% win rate from trying to let it go 1 to 1. And
Mhm.
it's not how I use it now, but
Right.
it's how I like figured out, okay, this clicked. Like if this happens, I do this and then I get this. And then that just made a bunch of sense to me. I was like, oh
Right.
my gosh, it's like a recipe. You just do this and then this happens and then you get this.
Right.
And so whenever that clicked in my head, I was like, okay, I need some type of accountability because I don't have accountability.
Mhm.
And I started streaming, and then I started to implement what I learned from the back test on challenges for forward testing so I could actually experience the candles moving with the strategy in real time. And that took me from, September to January to actually get funded. And then it took me another 3 months to get a payout. So it took me like 6 months for even just after I clicked the back testing session clicked.
Mhm.
It took me 6 months after that to even get a payout. So I mean, even now, like the strategy has grown and developed and evolved. And I think my mindset has too. And I've just I've tried to make things more, I guess more plain
Mhm.
in a way where I'm not having to look at certain things.
Right.
But it was really mainly the back testing of the strategy and finding out that ADX is a trend strength indicator. And then it just here I am, lays me into today of now I trade ADX and daily bias. So
Mhm. And you brought up a point that I have to latch onto here real fast because you're one of the only other people besides me who I know who's done this. When I started trading again, which was in January of 23,
mhm,
I started streaming my trading. I was not successful. Like I mean I think I had one eval passing experience, never got a payout, but I'm streaming as an unsuccessful trader, which was a really weird dynamic for me. And I find it interesting that you started streaming before you got to that point. What was the mindset behind going live and streaming your trading, even as you're learning, as you're growing, before you've gotten to a point where maybe this is something that somebody wants to see? Because we all know when it comes to traders online, the proof is in the pudding. They want to see, you know, Lambos and mansions and all that bullshit. So what,
yeah.
what brought you to that point where you're like, I need to make this available to people?
Um okay, so like I really wanted to be accountable. I had a problem
Mhm.
with being accountable. Every time I said I would do something like in trading, or I'm gonna stop trading for today. Oh no, there was like I was getting back on. Like I don't give a shit. I'm getting back on. If I said I was done, I was not done.
Right.
So I had a big problem with keeping myself accountable. I would overtrade. I didn't follow my plan. There was all these, negative habits I had as a trader.
Mhm.
And I said, I need some type of accountability. If I have eyes judging me, then there is some type of accountability there. If someone, even one person, sees that my account balance is this, and I said it's going to be like this at the end of the day, tomorrow, or whatever, the next day, whenever I pop up
Mhm.
and stream again, and it's going to be like that. It has to be like that. I
Yeah.
just said it on stream. Someone watched me and heard me said that. And also, my girlfriend, she really was like, "Hey, you already wake up and trade anyways. Why don't you just stream? Why don't you just stream it like so other people can see and and you can be accountable and they can also learn." Because that's how I learn is,
Right.
visuals. So I just started to do it, and it was nerve wracking at first. There was
Oh
one
yeah.
time where I first started streaming, where I was so nervous. I just went into the bathroom and just upper chucked, like, but I still kept pushing through, and I'm very happy I did. I'm very happy I started streaming
Mhm.
because it ultimately, if I don't think I would have done that, I don't think I would have grasped the accountability aspect of like
Right.
holding myself accountable of like if I'm developing discretion, intuition, just from the other people's eyes looking at the screen and them seeing like even though I maybe sometimes felt like I had imposter syndrome because I wasn't, getting payouts or whatever, I still needed to be accountable. So that
Mhm.
that really kept me going. And that's why I think I still do it today because I get to help people, but also people get to oh, this dude isn't following his plan. He keeps moving his stop loss. I had someone to get on to me the other day on my stream. I wanted to move my stop loss. I'm like, no, like, don't do that. It's not your plan. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So it
You
just
know, well, it's funny. I mean, that was kind of my same thought process because I wanted to get rid of some of the bad habits. And I thought, well, if there's a chance there's somebody watching me, then, then I would be less likely to make the mistakes. Now, sometimes that worked, sometimes that didn't. And I remember I had an absolute meltdown. I can't remember exactly when it was, but it was in March of 2023. And I still have the video on my Facebook page. But I mean, I I just went, I just went nuts. I had a bad start to the day. I kept trading. I over traded. I revenge traded and ended up blowing up my accounts. And I was super emotional. I was like shaking and I was just in this fit. And I'm like, I need to record what I'm feeling right now for posterity. Maybe I'll make this available at some point. So I actually did what I was doing at the time, which was at the beginning of every video. I was like doing the whole disclaimer thing. It's just kind of force a habit, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was using OBS to record and stream, right? Mm-hmm. So if you've ever used OBS, the record button and the stream button are right above and below each other. So my intention to record ended up streaming live, and I like it was one of those things where I'm like, oh, God, I can't believe I just did this. And like, I'm crying, I'm emotional. My language was absolutely foul. I went ahead and later on, I put on a little, language warning on it. But it was one of those things where, this was so real. This was so raw and in the moment that I'm glad I did it that way. I thought about immediately pulling it back down. I didn't, right?
Well, it's that you didn't because you have learned from that.
I learned from that, and my sincere hope is that somebody else has learned from that. Yes. But I will say at that time, like I had maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people watch my stream. Like they were buddies that like didn't trade and nobody was really into what's going on with Gates at this point. And I found it really funny that like, I'm streaming to an empty audience, but I would intentionally make sure that I couldn't see who was in, who was out or whatever, because for me, eyes might or might not be on me. And the fact is that 90% of the time, nobody's eyes were on me, and I could have done whatever I wanted to do, and it wouldn't have had the same effect of the accountability. So, I kind of had to sort of trick myself, and I stopped streaming after a while. It ended up getting pretty painful. And that was before I actually quit trading for a little while before I got back in. What's that?
I'm happy you got back in.
Oh, dude, I am too. I'm so excited I got back in. But you and I got to have some of these conversations before, because, if you've been listening to the podcast, my first payout came out less than 2 months ago. And since then,
congratulations, big W's in the chat for Mr. Gates.
I love that. You know what? It has been an absolute shift in everything really for me in terms of trading. I have more confidence. I'm still making a lot of mistakes. And in fact, I had one day I blew $3,000 per account across 9 accounts. That's almost 30 grand worth of profit down the drain. This was at a point where literally the day before I got all of my accounts but one over payout threshold, and the other one was like $100 away. So this literally would have been money in the bank had I not lost it, just moving forward, right? So that's a significant loss. I've had days where I've continued to overtrade when I knew I shouldn't. I've revenge traded. I've sized up. I make all of the classic mistakes still, but I'm sort of failing at a higher level. I have a better understanding of the market. So even if I take something that's more discretionary than fits my plan, there's at least a better understanding of the market behind it. And look, it sounds like I'm justifying. I'm not, because these mistakes that I continue to make are continuing to cost me money. So when I sit here and I look at the situation as it is now, I've got 9 PAs that are almost all back up to payout threshold after requesting another payout last week and having a couple of pretty rough days, in the last week. They're almost all back up to that level again. I'm a hair shy of 20 grand in payouts in the last 2 months, and really the last 6 weeks.
That's dope, bro. That is
like this came from let's call it March of 2025. So a little over 2 years, but 13 months into this like really aggressive journey I took when I started the podcast, when I really got focused on what it was that I needed to do, where I really wanted to share not the journey of my trading strategy, but the journey of me as a trader. And
yes,
so when I talk about the amount that I've taken out, and I think I said this last week, I don't do this to brag. I have no use for bragging. I'm not the Lambos and hoes kind of guy. That's just not who I am, right?
But it's okay to
But the reason I share it is because I shared all the tough times. And I want to share and celebrate the wins, and I want to do that with the audience. But I also want to keep the guys out there that are, a year in, maybe a couple of years in, still struggling, still trying to find their way. Look, there's another side. And the other side gets pretty exciting pretty quick once you start to figure some things out.
Yes.
But even
You can't
still,
quit.
you
Can't quit.
can quit. Like
Yeah.
if you're called to the charts, dude,
Yes.
you gotta stick with it, right?
Yes. I agree. This not everybody is called to the charts. Not everybody,
No.
like, some people get introduced to the charts and, like, immediately they're like, "Oh, this isn't for me."
Listen, but it is for me. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been a part of my life now in some form or fashion for 27 years, even if it was one of the most devastating experiences of my life. But it's still been a part of my life for almost 3 decades.
It's been about half a decade for me.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
catching up. I'm just kidding.
you'll never catch
I'll
up.
never catch up.
Look, let's face it, you got a little more time than I do. You're quite a bit younger than I am, which I wish I had figured a lot of things out when I was younger. But you know what? I think I'm right where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there.
Everything happens how it should.
Yeah, I truly believe that. And
Yes.
so I say all of this to say that I'm doing pretty well right now. When you look back, well, really by anybody's standards, I think the amount of payouts that I've gotten is pretty significant, really by any trader standards. But what I'm seeing is that I still have so many more areas of trading where I have the opportunity to get better and I have the opportunity to improve. And so the reason I share some of this with you is because share with the podcast is that, like, if I continue to improve at the level that I have for the past, call it now 15 months,
Mhm.
like a year from now, my life looks very, very different.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
for me, and the reason that I continue to do these interviews and the reason that I continue to create content, like, you know what, this podcast doesn't make me money. I make a few bucks on affiliates for Apex. That's pretty cool. But this is what keeps me moving forward. This is what keeps me having these types of conversations with guys like you, who you may be approaching trading very differently than I which you are.
Yes.
In fact, when we had our last conversation, you in fact tried to help me learn your strategy and how it was working. And I think for all of us, we really have to find something that resonates with us. You talked about that moment where you looked up ADX and it just made sense to you, right?
Yes.
So we all have to find that concept that just
Absolutely.
makes enough sense to me, to where I am right now, that it gives me enough confidence to build on it.
I 100% agree with you on that. Like, I 100%. I've showed many people my strategy, and it might resonate with them, but they're damn sure not going to trade it exactly like how I trade it,
Right.
for sure. Like, it doesn't work like that. You have to find something that obviously works for you, but works for you continuously long term.
Right.
Whenever you're going through the bumpy parts of the
Mhm.
sequencing of the trades that you don't know if you're going to win or lose, that you're going to lose a trade, you just have to. It is what it is. Risk manage. I think you learn that though throughout experience with the strategy, and
Mhm.
like the more time you spend with something, the better you get to know it. And most people strategy hop whenever they start going through
Right.
a tough time. But if you really think about the tough times, if you're executing and following your strategy, you're not making decisions based off your emotions, then that's just how it is,
Yeah.
how it's supposed to be. But you don't know that, and you can't experience that and play it out in real time if you stop trading your strategy and start trading off emotion.
Exactly. And this is one of the things that I'm really fighting with, because I know any stats that I keep are pretty meaningless at this point, because I'm not operating consistently. Like, I'm not making the same entry, same exit. I'm not utilizing the same concepts with every single trade. And it is a fight for me. And I know ultimately, look, I'm not naive. It is a decision that someday I'm going to have to make on my own and be a big boy and stop gambling and start becoming a more professional minded trader. And I'm working on it, and it's not easy. And this is why it takes people years to
Yes.
get to the point where they can have a consistent check, month in, month out. I mean, I don't know that that's the right concept for traders, but to see that money coming in on a consistent basis, and in many cases, firing the boss, quitting the job, making trading their primary source of income. Look, this is not something that someone's going to go watch a few YouTube videos and hammer away for 6 months, and all of a sudden it's like their life has changed. It
No,
doesn't
it
work
takes
that way.
a while. You
Yeah.
have to build the mind though. Like, you're not born to think in probability. Like,
Right.
you're indoctrinated to think of
Mhm.
certainty, and trading goes against all of everything that you're taught growing
Right.
up. So you have to really develop the mind to trade. You cannot push any agenda that you think you want to have with trading, because
Mhm.
the market is going to do whatever it wants to do, and we know that. And I think like once the strategy, once you have something that works for you, and then at that point you can start building the mind
Right.
for the perfect execution every time on your strategy.
Well, and that's absolutely something to work towards because, I've done a lot of studying of the subconscious mind, and I've mentioned this many times on the podcast. But the vast majority of the decisions we make on a day-to-day basis happen at the subconscious level. We don't think about them; they just happen, right? Well, this does happen in trading, and the flip side is the things that the experiences that have the most impact on that subconscious mind is when emotion is attached to it.
Mhm.
Well, trading
Yes.
is a very emotional business. So now you've got this high level of emotion and it's jacking with your subconscious.
Well, it's the
And
uncertainty that you face. Like,
yeah,
it's really that uncertainty aspect of like not having control over
yeah,
something that you're like risking. Like when you risk something, that's a big deal. We're you're taught to not like, oh, losing is bad or
mhm,
whatever the case may be whenever you grow up. So maybe some people aren't like that, but like most people are think like the taught that losing is bad. You want to be perfect. You want to win. Da, 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 da. Whenever
right.
you do this, you have no control over the outcome. And that really takes a while to get used to.
Oh, for sure.
It takes
And
so long.
and I think this is why every single dynamic shift that you have in trading is going to affect your results and usually not positively, right? So,
Well, I
you
mean,
go
over
from
time though, it makes it positive because then you start to realize a, like the only way to, I mean, even as a man in this world, like you, like everybody in this world, they all have to apply what they learn in their life to make something different. You
right,
know, like Einstein says, the insanity is like doing the same thing over and over and over again. So if I don't want to do the same thing, I saw this one podcast one day. It was like the trading institutes or traders or something like that. It was like why people suck at trading. It was like showed the bell curve. It's like most people don't apply what they learn. To be on the right side of the bell curve, you have to apply what you learn. And that to me, I was like, oh, I feel like an idiot now, bro. Like what? I can do that in life, but like what's there's no difference. It's in trading too. It's just applying what you learn. That may take a couple of little punches, but
mhm,
hey, like or years or
yeah,
whatever, like blown accounts or whatever the case may be. But once you really start getting like sick and tired of your shit, you're like, all right. Like for me, whenever I lost all that money, it's like this shit is not working. I need to
yeah,
apply what I learned. And once I started to apply what I learned in this space, I started to grow. And that's what I'm hearing from you as well. Like you started to applying what you learned, found something that worked for you, and then now like you're seeing money, you're seeing success.
mhm,
And even like following your plan, that's success because even when you're not in a trade, you're still trading. Like you're still
right.
risk managing, you're still managing your emotions. Like it's, all this is connected, dude.
Still still part of the struggle, but I think a lot of it is, I always talk about the fact that this is a nonstop journey. This is a never-ending journey. If you're going to
Yes.
get in the charts tomorrow or the next day or next week or next month or next year even, you're still on that journey. It doesn't
Absolutely.
matter how long you've been doing it. It doesn't matter how old you are.
Work
You've
your
got to
profit rule.
continue. Yeah. I
Yes.
mean, like this is one of those businesses where people will literally make millions of dollars and then they'll blow it and they'll have to start over from scratch. I mean, I've seen this
Yes.
happen multiple times, and you want to talk about some psychological stuff. I mean, I know particularly men I think have this more so than women, but they have the need to build, right?
Oh yeah.
And so they get complacent. Like it's like, oh man, I've got everything I wanted, and I've had all this success and everything like that. I've got nothing new to do, right? So subconsciously they'll burn it all to the ground and they'll have to start over. And it's like,
Damn, that's a good
I mean,
point.
it happens in business, it happens in trading, it happens in every arena. I mean, it happens in marriages. I mean, this happens in every arena of life. There's
Yes.
this pattern.
Yes.
And we don't have to follow the pattern. That's sort of like drifting along in the waves of the ocean, wherever the ocean decides to carry you. But you have a sail, you have paddles, you have a motor that you can utilize should you choose to.
Yeah, you have
And
the effort. You can put in effort.
yeah, 100%. And there's tools, there's effort, there's mindset, there's listening to podcasts, there's studying different strategies in the market. There's not strategy hopping, don't get me wrong, but there's listening to other live traders, watching traders stream, and just getting that little bit. For me, it's been interview after interview after interview. I mean, this
Yes.
process has been I mean, it has been game changing for me. I don't think I would be here without the opportunity that I've had to probably at this point interview over 300 different traders, maybe
That
400.
is insanely awesome, actually. Like
Dude,
getting
it's
to talk to each individual person about their own experience, and you take everybody's experience, and like you can, like you said, you can take little bits and pieces,
Mhm.
things, and apply it to your life, your strategy, how you want to be better in those
Well,
aspects.
you take it a step further. I mean, I am a trader. Even before I was seeing some success, I was still a trader. Still had that trader mindset. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for patterns, right? So you interview 300 people, you're seeing patterns. You're seeing patterns in their behavior. You're seeing patterns in their development. You're seeing patterns in what happens when they forget that first payout versus when they get that third payout. I mean, these are two different dynamics.
Yes,
And so I've
yes,
managed to be a little more aware of, I can't tell you how many traders I've seen that's like they get their first payout, they feel invincible, they size up, they now like, okay, well, if I made 500 on this payout, then if I double my position size, I'll make 1,000. I mean, my max drawdown was no more than my drawdown. So I should be fine, right? Well, first of all, there's
no,
not enough data. Second of all, you haven't considered the way that your mind reacts to seeing those bigger numbers on the screen, good or bad. And
true that,
these all have an effect, right?
absolutely.
So when we see our growth, it's not a static, 45-degree angle up a chart, right? We have
No,
to we have to go through these growth phases, and with each growth phase, there's going to be a bit of a pullback before we start, trajectorying back up in the direction that we want to go.
absolutely,
And if you
absolutely.
can't handle that, you need to find you need to find a way to be able to handle that, because that is just the nature of things, particularly with trading. Most people, they go to the 9 to 5 job, they get a promotion, they move up, they maybe take a lateral job that has more opportunity, they continue to go up. It's more of that direct line. With
It's
that direct
security.
line, I mean, that's a very different outcome that you're going for. You're never going to see trading money in that world, which for some people is fine. For
Yeah,
me,
absolutely.
more different.
100%. Some people are, I mean, you're so right about that. For some people, it's so fine. I just like you. I mean, I really think that the aspect of building that mind to be okay with losing takes time,
Yeah.
but I feel like with anything else, like you are building the tolerance the more it happens.
Mhm.
So if you're trying to become a trader who is profitable, consistent, those types of things, and you have to continue, and you have to, I mean, you're gonna get, beat down a little bit, but that's just anything. I feel like starting anything, a sport, game, like you're not gonna be good at first,
Mhm.
but if you continue, and honestly too, I started trading. I don't know, man. It's so emotional. It's like figuring out your emotions all at
Mhm.
once, and then the same thing can happen, but differently the next day, and you have to manage it's so much learning. It's an emotional battleground, but as
Mhm.
you continue to show up to the battleground, and maybe you'll go on tilt and you'll lose control, but
Yeah.
if you can apply what you learn and understand and realize that the only way to be successful is to apply what you learn in anything in life, then that's what you have to do. And that takes time. I think that takes so much time. For some people, it may take 10 years. Some people, it takes 2. Some people never figure it out because that's just what happens. Their liquidity for the market. I mean, that's just how it is.
So, well, somebody's got to be right.
Yes, but that's just how it is, and, like, I mean, it's trading. Every time you win, you're taking money from somebody. Every time you lose, someone's taking money from you.
Yeah.
That's trading. It's tough. It's not for everybody, but I feel like most people would be better at trading if they actually had a strategy and didn't just want to make money.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I think that absolutely goes without saying. I think that this is also a high pressure environment that tests
Oh,
you in
yeah.
ways that most things won't.
Oh, yeah.
And just being in an environment like that is a different dynamic than what most people would call everyday life.
Because you want to be right.
Yeah, of
You
course.
want to not be wrong. Why would you take the trade if you don't know it's gonna be 100% right? Well, I mean,
Well, and I think about like different areas of our lives. I feel like the different area of our lives mirror trading and vice versa and everything like that. So one of the things that I've done on my journey is I like to expose myself to levels of discomfort so that I build resilience, right? So I don't know, 6 months ago, I bought a cold plunge.
Oh
And
man.
yeah, I know. And I go through, look, I'm going to be honest. I go through cycles. I'm back on a good cycle of consistency. I'm trying to plunge it like 3 days a week. Um, and I will still say, like, it's been 6 months. And like at one point I was getting in every single day, and I was getting in for like 10 minutes a day. And
Dang.
like
I've never done that.
every single time I get in, like I have this moment of terror. Like I don't want to get in. I don't want to do this. I just know, right? And then I get in and I manage and I'm fine. And you know what? I survive it. I come out on the other side and then I feel fantastic, right? I also have a place where I go and I get in a sauna, and I try to do that, you know, a couple times a week as well. Like I'm exposing myself to massive levels of discomfort because this builds resilience within me, which is a skill and an attribute that I need to have as a trader. Does it make me a better trader directly? Not directly, but indirectly, it changes who I see myself as.
Absolutely. You have to have persistence, tenacity, resilience. Like you, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Especially in the very beginning of like your journey, trying to figure out what you want to trade, how you want to trade, all those things, what pair, like, dude, there's so much bullshit you have to like experience in trading. And oh my gosh, you're so right, dude. You have to be so resilient, dude. Like this is probably one of the most, I would say, anything in my life, this is the most resilience I've ever shown ever in anything I'd say in my life. Hey, maybe college, like university graduating, but this is way harder than university. This is harder than anything I've ever done in my life.
This is harder than most things that most people will ever do,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Emotionally, you know, it can be emotionally taxing. Like you can be, if you if you're on the charts too long, or if you're over trading or not following your plan, tilting, like you can become fatigued. Like
Oh yeah.
you went and ran a freaking marathon. Like it's emotionally taxing. You have to really get through that. And if you like give up, you don't have resilience, then you will not. You won't see the golden side of which now you're at. You're like you're seeing the other side now because you didn't give up. You
Right.
may have taken a break or whatever, but you still like you applied what you learned. You came back and results speak for themselves. Math. Trading is also, in my opinion, math. Like if you have a strategy, just the R, whatever, it's just math. It just everything's supposed to happen how it's supposed to happen. And I think beginner traders find that really hard because they want to control it. But the thing is, you can't. And if you just let probability play out, you have to lose within those rates of winning and losing. You have to lose. Once you understand and accept that, then you're so much better off than so many people that start and like don't learn.
Yeah.
In
You
my
know,
opinion.
and I think from an intimidation standpoint, a lot of people paint themselves with a brush of "I'm not good at math,"
Oh,
and I mean, I've heard this from tons of people over the years, and from very very intelligent people, right? This is not just you know, there's no category that this fits in, right? But people will buy into this from themselves, and the fact is that the math that we're doing in a trade, you know, calculating, you know how much risk we're putting on or whatever. Well, first of all, there's tools for that, right? You know, I can put my position tool on there and see exactly how many contracts I need to put on to match my risk tolerance, right?
Yes.
But I think that people will get intimidated by anything that has these numbers if they're the type of person who is basically convinced themselves that they're bad at math. I don't think anybody's inherently bad at math. I think it just is one of those things that people say so often that other people will buy into, and they'll just, you know, they'll say, well, I struggled with, you know, calculus in college. Well, you know, we're not doing fucking calculus. We're doing some basic
For
addition
trading.
and
I
subtraction.
agree with you. I think honestly, trading made me appreciate math because I was
Mhm.
not really ever good at math growing up. I'll get like C's and B's in high school for math, but I always questioned math. I always questioned why, but like trading has really shown me that that's just you don't question math. It just
Right.
happens. That's just what it is. You have your probability. I really think trading made me like appreciate math more than I ever have because I didn't really like math, and then I started to associate RR and trading with math. I was like, oh, this is just math. Okay.
Well, honestly, I think that's why so many people feel like they are not good in math is because they don't really have a meaningful association for it, right? You learn the English language so you can speak, right? So that you can write, so that you can read a book, so that you can gather information. But we learn math and we don't really learn real life application of it, right?
I agree.
I mean, other than calculating how much tax Uncle Sam took out of our check, or whatever the case may be, right? But we don't feel like it's something that we're going to use, and if we don't feel like we need it, we're not really going to put a whole lot of energy and attention into getting better at it.
I
Once
agree.
we do, then all of a sudden, I mean, it's just like that strategy. You talked about learning what ADX meant, and all of a sudden something clicked for you, and there you go, right?
Yes.
Well, when I find that by developing my math skills, by actually understanding what's behind the numbers and how absolute those numbers are, right? Now, all of a sudden, there's a real life application, and I'm not struggling with it as much anymore.
Yes, I 100% agree with you on that, yo. I definitely agree with you on that. I think, like, also what people understand, I trade negative R,
Mhm,
so there's a higher win rate that's involved with negative R, and with higher RR, there's a lower win rate
mhm,
associated with negative R. So that math, like, you can still be profitable with negative R, and you can still be profitable with positive R, but I mean, it's just math at the end of the day, but you can't be profitable if you don't have the mindset to just trade instead of
mhm,
making money and, like, pushing your agenda and trying to force or whatever make something happen. I feel like a lot of errors come from, whenever I have trading errors, whenever I blew a bunch of accounts last year, I was just like, the reason why I blew those accounts is because of trading errors.
mhm.
It wasn't because of my strategy. I
Right.
feel like a lot of discomfort and everything comes from just from trading errors. So again, like, once you get tired of your own shit, then I mean, even though I had a year of profitability and,
Mhm,
like, towards the end of December, I just started trading Asian session one day and just
mhm,
started trading gold. Like, I never trade gold. It's not something I trade. I just
mhm.
started pressing buttons, trying to make money. And then I just started going on tilt because I was losing. And then I was like, okay, well, now I need to apply what I'm learning. And I took a big break from everything and I came back and now I'm doing much better. But it's just because I am applying what I learned and now I'm trading my own money and it's up 100%. Like, my account's like 105%. But, like, none of that matters. The only thing that matters is I'm following my plan. And I
Right.
know from experience, my last experience, when I didn't follow my plan, that I blew a lot of my accounts.
Yeah.
And that's fine as long as I learn from that.
So I want to talk a little bit about the journey and how far you have come, because you have talked a lot about some of the mental mistakes that you've made, some of the disciplinary mistakes that you've made along the way. I mean, look, this is part of the journey. And the reason I bring this up is because, as we can see by your handle there, and the fact I mentioned, people know you online as Stoic Jake, right?
Yes.
So there's a big difference between, Wild West gambling, hitting buttons, trying out things that haven't been tested, or really even, have a reasonable expectation, because you just don't have that information, to now being identified with the concept of stoicism.
Yes.
What brought you to that point?
I would say, oh, okay, so whenever it was in April, it was, I was going through a bunch of, I wouldn't it didn't have anything to do with trading at first. It had to do
Mhm,
with, like, applying stoicism in my life of
mhm,
not letting outside events that I can't control affect my daily emotions,
mhm,
not letting other people affect me. I was going through a lot of personal stuff. I was going through, like, a breakup and all this, like, I was trying to move on from that. It had been, like, over a certain period of time, and I was like, "Yo, I'm trying to find something in life that will help me not let my emotions affect my day to day. So I
mhm,
need to be a better man, I need to be a better person." And I found stoicism
mhm,
and it really spoke to me in my life. And I started to apply those stoic concepts to my daily thoughts in life. And that helped me really, like, move on and get over a lot of things in
mhm,
life. And then as I came into trading, I thought that, like, when I started streaming, that brand of stoicism would be good because whenever you are trading, you're not supposed to let certain things in the market affect your emotions. So,
right.
like, not going on tilt, not FOMOing, not being greedy, following your plan, not cutting the trade whenever you're in drawdown, like, whatever those things are,
Mhm,
applying stoicism to trading, being cool, calm, collected, no matter what outcome, because we can't control the outcome in life for certain things. So in trading, applying that same concept of stoicism of not letting certain things affect your emotions in your life and like accepting it for what it is and then moving on,
Mm.
that helped me become, I think, um, a better trader in the aspect of applying the stoic principles of those things in not just my life, but in trading, because I really think that trading and life have a lot of parallels. So that is where that came from. It came from me wanting to better myself as a person from
Right.
things that I was going through in life. And then I just applied that to trading.
And I think that's really where the best concepts come from, because I often talk about the mirror, how one area of your life mirrors another, particularly trading being as extreme as trading can be. It
Yeah.
brings out the best and worst. I mean, it brings out the extremes of who and what you are.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
you talk about developing stoicism, and look, I mean, I know what stoicism is, and I agree that this is definitely a very valuable trait to have as a trader. But
Mhm.
how do you build it into who and what you are to where you're able to execute and live in a state of stoicism amidst the emotional roller coaster, the financial challenges, and the the ups and downs that not just trading but life has to offer? How do you develop that in yourself?
I would say the development of managing uncertainty, like accepting uncertainty
Mhm,
and not making uncertainty an enemy, but making uncertainty an ally.
mhm,
I think that that's what I had to do with like my whenever I was in the beginning of adopting a stoic principle. I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I know how I feel right now, and I know that I can make myself maybe possibly maybe I don't know feel better maybe with time I don't know, but I'm just
mhm,
going to apply what this is telling me to do, and then I'm going to do it. And so I did it, and I think it's just a day by day discipline. Because at
mhm.
first, just like the gym, I like to compare like applying principles and stuff like that to the gym. You're not going to get jacked overnight. You're not going to get profitable overnight. You're not going to develop a stoic mind of not being concerned with like outcomes or controlling your emotions, not necessarily like avoiding emotions, but feeling them and managing them
Sure,
and like understanding the wise decision to make. That doesn't just happen overnight. It takes time.
of
So
course.
it's a waking up and making yourself daily disciplines, doing what you're supposed to do, and then doing it day by day. And then eventually, as you keep doing it day by day, it's like implemented into a habitual state of your mind. And then you just or you're doing that now. That's just a part of your life. But it doesn't just happen like that. You have to live it. You have to apply it. You have to be disciplined. You have to do it. And then eventually you start to just be that way.
So I talk about the fact that the subconscious mind controls the vast majority of our decisions. This is where we have to make those conscious decisions to, what
Yes.
I said I was going to get up this morning and get in the cold plunge. If I
Yes.
don't do it, then the only one I'm hurting is myself. I have
That's
to
like
force
David
myself.
Goggins says. Do you want to wake up and know you could do something? Do you want to be a bitch today? Do you want to wake up and know you could have done something, but you don't do it? Like, dude, those words right there. That's like stoicism. It's like it's the daily discipline. It's not you don't it's a lot with life, man.
Yeah.
Like you were saying.
But ultimately, we have to be the ones who hold ourselves accountable.
Yeah.
And it's hard at first. Like I said, I don't like getting in the cold plunge. I like what it does for me, but I don't like doing it. I sort of enjoy the steam room to a point, or to the yeah. Uh,
I love the sauna. I'll sit in there for like
oh,
30 minutes, dude. I will sit there and melt away all of the losses that I've ever experienced in
yeah.
trading.
I mean, there is such a cleansing feel to it, but
Yes.
in
It
it,
is
like,
uncomfortable.
it's funny. The first time I went in, I've got this metal bottle that I took in there with me because I want to make sure I had some water.
Hot
And
shit.
like I'm in there for like 25 minutes. I grab the bottle. I like, dang it, mother. Anyway,
Yeah,
it's
I know.
and I'm sitting here going, look, if the bottle's that hot, what is this doing to me? It is uncomfortable, and it does require a commitment to discomfort.
Yes.
Um, you brought up David Goggins, and I think one of the most impactful podcast episodes of anything I have ever listened to was when Andrew Huberman interviewed David Goggins. And Huberman's talking about this part of the brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, or the AMCC. And this is the part of the brain that is it's will. It literally drives will. And unlike most parts of the brain, as you utilize it, it physically gets bigger. As you don't, it will physically atrophy and grow smaller. This is tied to the will to live. And the only way, literally the only way to develop this part of the brain is to do something that you fucking hate.
Yes.
And that's my dude.
I've seen that clip right there, actually. Yes.
So you have to see, and that's the thing. Like you go to the gym, right? You hate the pain, you hate, all of a sudden you start to love it, you start to crave it. Well, once you love it, it's no longer building this part of your brain. You have to go back and fight to do something that you hate doing. Every day when I get in the cold plunge, I hate it. I don't want to do it. Like I dread it, right? And so that is sort of me building this part of my brain, because then when it comes to, all right, you took your 2 losses for the day, Gates, you're done. It takes willpower to not do what I've always done, which is try to go chase it.
I 100% agree with you. I think that's like the same principle of whenever you are building the mind for trading, that it sucks at first, not like stoicism. Whenever you want to react to certain things, because that's easier.
Right.
But as you just said, as you start to daily discipline and start to apply it, it becomes easier to where then it just, okay, so this guy I saw on Instagram, I don't know what his name is, but he's been doing a cold plunge for like over a year every day. It's like a part of his life now.
Yeah.
And you just have to, that's like, you don't just start there though. You have to build it. And that takes so much time. It's different for everybody. And everybody is unique in their own way. Like nobody is going to do anything the exact same.
Well, for sure. And I think just like anything else, you've got to build slowly. You can't sit there and go, okay, well, I'm going to do these 6 things every day out of, that are out of my norm, out of my character, right? You can't jump too far too fast.
Right.
If you do, you're bound for failure, right?
Yes.
But if you will take one step, get this to become now a committed habit, something that you do every day, and it stops being that willpower to get you to do it. It now just becomes part of your day. Then you add in number 2, and you have to take these things in steps, because it's so easy to get overwhelmed with, I want to change who and what I am. You know what? You think about January 1st every year. Everybody's got their New Year's resolution or resolutions, right? And I've been consistently going to the gym for about 2.5 years, and I have grown to love it. Like everybody at the gym knows me. The people who work out there, the people who work there, everybody knows me.
Because I'm part of your life.
It's part of my life now.
Yeah,
right.
But it wasn't at first. It sucked at first.
Yeah, of course. But you go through this process, and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to commit to doing this, and you fight through the pain. Like,
absolutely. Just losing in trades.
Yeah.
You're committed to following your plan. You're going to fight through that urge of, I want to re-enter so I can get my money back. And that sucks at first, but it calms down as you start.
I had a coach, and one of his big sayings was, choose your pain, right? So like if you're going to the gym, I mean, there's pain in going to the gym. There's also pain in being horribly out of shape. Choose your pain, right?
Pain of regret.
There's pain in walking away from the day in the red.
Yes.
There's also pain in knowing that you don't have enough discipline to stop when you're supposed to, because that usually puts you further in the red. And, of course, then now it's compound and whatever.
Yes. That little red that you had, that little pain right there. Or we can make the pain bigger by making your account even worse.
What if you win? What if you do what you're not supposed to do and you win and you get out of it?
That is so bad, because that's going to catch. I say this in my stream all the time. If you start implementing bad habits and you're winning off those bad habits are going to come to a point where you don't win and you're fucked. Like your whole account is gone after that, dude.
I call it being rewarded for bad behavior, because when you're rewarded, you repeat the activity.
Yes, it was in psychology. Is that negative? I don't know. Never mind. I'm not gonna.
Yeah. Now we're going textbook. My learning has been more practical, less textbooks. I don't know the names of things. I know the concept. but it's true. I mean, there's so many different things that you can try to implement in your life, but don't go overboard. I mean, like if you want to be a consistent trader, pick one thing, develop that one strategy or one key
Yeah.
component of your operation, and then
Yes.
build on it one
Whenever
step at a time.
that's a great thing you said. I'm happy. I'm gonna expand on that because whenever I was first starting out and I got my first funded account in January of 2024, I didn't have like I had like 3 accounts that I was trying to pass, and I think
Mhm.
they had like a 1-day pass deal going on.
Yeah,
Passed it. So or passed 2 or whatever. So I passed 1 with my actual strategy, follow my strategy, and then 2 were just more aggressive with my
right,
strategy. But even whenever I first like was trading, I wasn't trading those 3 accounts all at the same time because that was overwhelming. I was there's I'm scared to risk 4 MYM, $2 a point. Like,
right,
so that's what I did. Like I traded 1 account one day, and the next day I traded another account, the next day I traded another account. And as I grew with comfortability of trading, now PAs, then I started to connect accounts together.
right,
But that didn't just happen at first. I needed to grow. I was overwhelmed at first, but you grow, like you just said.
right.
That's a great example. I mean, I thank you for saying that.
I hate to be cliche, but it's baby steps. I mean,
It is.
every
Yeah.
every bit of growth starts with baby steps. You can't go from
0 to
you
100.
know 0 to running and and one in one pass. It doesn't work that way. And anybody who thinks it does is they're deluding themselves. I mean, and the only person that gets hurt in the mix is you is the person that you're trying to become. And trading is less about becoming this beautiful strategist and learning how to read the market like a pro, and more about who are you, who must you become to be able to pull out 10, 20, 50, 100 grand out of your trading.
You have to I mean, that's a great question. I think that I mean, if it's even if it's not rhetorical, if it is rhetorical, I think the person you have to become a person that is in a carefree mind state.
Mhm.
Like, you cannot care about any outcome because as you start trading bigger numbers, you're going to start losing bigger numbers. You're going to start winning
Yeah.
bigger numbers. I mean, imagine your little $100 that you lose is going to turn into 1K and then
Right.
10K.
Well,
So
and that's the thing. I think that there are some general answers to that question, but I think there's also the fact that for each person's going to have their own version of an answer to that question.
yes,
Who must I become? Well, for me, I had to become the guy that went to the gym every 5 days a week. I had to become the guy that did the sauna and the cold plunge, and basically beat myself up in a lot of different ways to build that resilience, because I already had so many bad habits and I already had so many negative connotations associated with trading that I had to overcome things that most traders don't have to their
I
benefit.
100% agree with you, dude. I think the gym definitely helped me become that type of
Sure.
person I am. That was like the start. It
Yeah.
helped me have delayed gratification
Mhm.
and discipline. And then I took like one day I was streaming. I was like, I applied like let's think about the gym. I apply delayed gratification for that payout.
Right.
Apply patience for the payout. Apply discipline for the strategy.
It matters. I mean, it,
It
it
does
it
matter.
really does. And I'm a big proponent of traders working out. Find something that works for you, and just be consistent with it, because a lot of the way that we behave in the charts comes down to our identity. And if you identify as someone who is disciplined in your life, then it's much easier to be disciplined in the charts, because it's just who and what you are.
Because
You know.
you have real life examples to
Yeah.
apply something like you just said with math, like we were talking about earlier with math. Like I had something to relate math to.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, now you have something to relate this discipline, this delayed gratification, this patience. Just like we know we're not going to get in that shape that we want overnight. We now know that we're not going to become a profitable trader overnight. It's going to take some time and effort and work. But as we continue to go, we get stronger, we get more jacked, you get more, you
Right.
develop that mind. And that is
Absolutely.
like that's I've there's been people on my stream that have been, how long did it take you to get profitable? How long you been trading? And like they'll tell me, I'll tell them, they'll tell me like, 10 years, 15 years. I'm like, yo, it is really truly different for everybody. Everybody is 100% unique. And my like you just said, with my aspect of like I had to become a carefree, stoic person, that carefree stoicism could be completely different for somebody else.
Sure.
And like we were talking about going to the gym, having that discipline, having that delayed gratification.
Right.
If you can't have any application of real life skills, then how are you going to apply that to trading?
For sure. Absolutely.
That does take time though. That just doesn't happen overnight. Like, it takes so much time. I don't think people understand. Like new traders, they want that shit now. But dude, it takes so much time. And it may not be as painful for you as it was for me, but it's still gonna be a little bit of pain. So you
It's,
just get ready for the ride, man, and follow the plan. That's the
I,
biggest
I,
thing. I wish I would've followed my plan earlier. I didn't.
I I hate to have a negative outlook, but I expect the worst and just, hope for, to be pleasantly surprised. I don't feel that way anymore, but I did struggle with that, because of such a massively bad start to the, bad experience in that, my first experience with trading. Um,
That's totally fine though. Like
yeah,
that's totally fine. I still have struggle with PTSD sometimes this day with trading. I don't even
yeah,
touch crypto anymore because I had so much negative experiences with crypto. Like I don't even go there. I don't even care. I don't have I don't care about it. Even investing, even
right,
that aspect. I'd rather put my money in something like that, like the VTI or whatever, just like certain ETFs. Like I still deal with that today. So I
mhm,
don't even put myself in that position to even deal with uncertainty that I don't even want to deal with or know how to. At least I know how to deal with some type of uncertainty with my strategy, with my pair that I've been trading for this, X amount of years.
Well, and that comes down to knowing yourself. You know what works for you, you know what doesn't work for you, but the only way you get to that point is by looking inward.
You have to experience. You have to. I mean, there's people in my Discord. They're talking about certain strategies, whatever. I'm like, how long you been trading? Like 5 months. I'm like, dude, you haven't even dove. You're still in the air. Dive. You haven't reached the water.
Like we know what's coming.
Yeah.
So, well, what are some resources that you think would help? So if somebody wants to start to look into stoicism and develop some of the mindset that you've been able to develop that's been so beneficial and helpful for you, what are some good resources for somebody to look into?
Okay. So I can't. I don't really recommend. I mean, obviously, you look up like Marcus Aurelius, the
Mhm.
his Stoic poems, stuff like that. But the biggest things that I want to say that helped me the most to develop the carefree state of mind is Randy Howe and Mark Douglas.
Yeah.
Those two people right there, listening to their lectures, listening to their videos, listening to how they talk about the mind and the science behind the mind and the evolutionary aspects and caveman brain and losing is associated to death. That's why we don't want to lose and da 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 da. Thinking about the evolutionary and scientific aspect of all that. And Mark Douglas talking about trading as like probability and
Mhm.
if you have a strategy, you are the house.
Yeah.
House doesn't lose over a long period of time. So if you keep playing the probability, those types of things, those two people, Trading in the Zone, a big book that like really helped me shape my mindset and to start thinking in probabilities, or The Disciplined Trader, learning about Mark Douglas and like how he lost everything and he still kept trading and found out that discipline and all those things. Those two people,
Yeah.
Mark Douglas and Randy Howe, the goats. I want to say those are the goats.
I love it. I don't know Randy Hammond. I'm gonna have to look that one up. I can't say enough good things about Mark Douglas. I mean, so much of his content and his books have helped me
Absolutely.
along the way. It's just phenomenal. And I don't know anybody who has been trading for more than a few minutes that doesn't preach something from Mark Douglas. I mean, he's just the godfather of trader mindset and
Absolutely.
unbelievable stuff.
The psychology aspect behind trading is bigger than the strategy, but you have to have a strategy.
Yeah,
So once you have the strategy, then you want to develop the mind
yeah,
to survive long term. And looking at Randy Howe and how he breaks everything down to the evolutionary aspect
mhm,
and associated with trading, and looking at Mark Douglas, if you haven't seen those people, chat, look at those people.
yeah.
Those people will help you change your life.
Go
I
go go
promise.
check them out. I can't agree with you more. Like I said, it's particularly with Mark Douglas because I know his work. Um, Now, if someone wants to follow you, somebody wants to see what you've got going on, where do they find you?
At Stoic ADX everywhere.
Everywhere. So Facebook, X,
Yes,
Twitter, whatever.
TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Mainly my YouTube. My main socials are YouTube and Instagram at
Mhm.
Stoic ADX, but I have a
Okay,
TikTok and X, but
gotcha.
I don't really stay on those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, we'll start having to work on some content strategies together and funnel those all out, because the same content goes everywhere as far as I'm concerned.
We could have a weekly. We could do certain monthly things with like building. We could talk about building the brain for trading, like giving examples. Bro, we can do this.
Dude, you know what? This brings up such a good point. I mean, if you don't have a community that is into what you're into,
Oh,
go find one.
yes.
Go find someone that you can have these types of conversations about trading, about marketing, about content, whatever the case, whatever you're into. This is a trading podcast, so call it trading. Go find your community. If you don't have one, there's tons of them out there. Go check out Jake. He's got his Discord where, of course, he streams. We know that. If some of what he has shared resonates with you, go check him out, because like I've known this guy now for, I guess, we're roughly about a year now.
Yeah.
And he is very good at what he does. And one thing that I know, in all of that time, the man has not stopped growing in who and what he is as a trader and as a human being. So
Mr. Gates,
very appreciative of you spending some time with me today. I could do this for hours. And here we are, over an hour into this.
Oh, I could keep rambling. I promise you, I could keep rambling for another hour or two about.
I easily could too. My schedule just won't allow that. So unfortunately, there comes a point where it's like, all right, we've got to cut this. Plus, I don't know how much people want to hear the same guys yapping for 2-3 hours. Maybe they do. If you do, let us know, man. We'll bring Jake back on. We'll do another one of these. I love this, man.
I love it too. So, thank you for having me on. I am so appreciative. I'm always appreciative of you having me on. Thank you so much again.
Always, man. And such a pleasure. We got to stay in contact, and let's chat afterwards. Maybe we'll do some content strategy conversations and stuff like that. Absolutely. I've actually got a group of people that I'm doing some marketing calls with. I'm not an expert marketer, but I know just enough to be a few steps ahead of them. And so they keep coming back week after week. We have a lot of fun with it. So a lot of it boils down to content and some of the stuff that I'm working on. And I'll tell you what that really does is that holds me accountable to what I tell them I'm going to do. Because if I don't keep moving forward, they're not going to either.
Yes, sir. Having those accountabilities, people are important.
In everything that you do. If it's important to you, have somebody that's there for accountability. So,
agreed.
Jake, keep doing what you're doing, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time and the insight and wisdom. I know we've got a lot of really good stuff in this one. So, I will.
That was great. Thank you so much. Like, Mr. Gates is the GOAT. Subscribe to Mr. Gates.
Oh yeah, I'm supposed to do this. Like, subscribe, comment, do all the stuff that you're supposed to do. You guys know what to do. Do it. I appreciate all of you guys. I love you all. God bless. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Jake, always a pleasure to chat with you.
Yes, sir.
Brother, we'll chat soon. And make sure to come back next week for the next episode of the Forge Trader Podcast. I'll see y'all soon. Hey, thanks for joining us on today's episode of the Forge Trader Podcast. It really means so much to me that you're here, and hopefully you're enjoying my journey as well as some of my buddies. And I look forward to bringing more of that to you. If you want more Forge Trader in your life, I encourage you to go to theforgedtrader.com/join. I will be doing announcements on any content that's coming out. I will be doing some special member-only live Q&A sessions, not just with me, but hopefully in the future with some of my guests as well. And this will be exclusive to anybody who is a member. This is completely free to join. Just pop in your name and email address. I won't abuse it. This is just my way of keeping in touch with you guys. As always, I encourage you to connect with me on social at The Forged Trader at pretty much all of them, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, all the goods. We'll be possibly putting up a TikTok, so keep an eye out for that as well. And of course, if you need funding for your futures day trading, make sure to go to apextraderfunding.com and use coupon code FORGED at checkout to get the best prices available at any given time. No matter what sale is going on, you'll get the best price available anywhere. Use coupon code FORGED, and you can get the link in the description. And I can't wait to see you guys on the next episode of the Forge Trader.